Evil doesn't always announce itself with fire and fury. Sometimes, it's a quiet knock on the door, a friendly smile from a stranger, or a trusted face in a familiar place. Tonight, we're not just looking at the crimes. We're exploring the chilling silence that surrounds them. We'll journey across continents and decades to uncover the stories of killers who operated in the shadows, some infamous, others almost entirely forgotten. Each name left behind a trail of broken families, unanswered questions, and a stark reminder of just how close the darkness can be. Let's start with a name you've probably never heard, Isabella Hellmann. In the early hours of May 14, 2017, the vast Atlantic Ocean became the silent witness to a mystery that would shock two nations and leave a family searching for answers. This is the story of Isabella Hellmann, a newly married woman who vanished at sea during what was supposed to be the happiest time of her life. Isabella Hellmann was 41 years old. She was a Colombian-born, German-raised environmental activist and a passionate advocate for sustainability. Intelligent, outspoken, and deeply committed to her values, Isabella believed in living with purpose and love. In 2017, she married Louis Bennett, a British man several years her junior. Their relationship appeared intense and romantic, bound by shared ideals and a sense of adventure. To celebrate their marriage, the couple embarked on a honeymoon voyage across the Atlantic aboard a luxury catamaran named the Vision, sailing from the Canary Islands toward the Caribbean. It was meant to be a journey of freedom, intimacy, and discovery, but only days into the voyage, Isabella disappeared. According to Louis Bennett, he awoke before dawn to find Isabella missing. He claimed the boat was damaged, its sail torn, and that Isabella must have gone overboard during the night. He issued a distress call, reporting his wife lost at sea. Rescue teams responded quickly. The U.S. Coast Guard launched an extensive search, covering thousands of square miles of open ocean. But Isabella Hellmann was never found. No body, no witnesses, only questions. Almost immediately, investigators began to notice inconsistencies in Bennett's account. The damage to the boat did not match his explanation. His timeline shifted. And most troubling of all evidence suggested a violent altercation had taken place on board. Forensic experts later testified that Isabella likely died from blunt force trauma. Prosecutors would argue that a fight broke out between the couple in the confined space of the vessel, escalating into violence. Isabella, they said, never fell accidentally into the sea. Instead, they alleged, she was killed and her body deliberately thrown overboard. As the investigation unfolded, a darker picture of the marriage emerged. Friends described frequent arguments. Text messages revealed tension and emotional strain. What had seemed like a romantic union now appeared volatile and unstable. In 2017, Louis Bennett was arrested and charged not with murder, but with involuntary manslaughter. With no body and no direct witnesses, prosecutors faced an uphill battle. Still, the circumstantial evidence was powerful. Confronted with the mounting case against him, Bennett ultimately pleaded guilty. In 2018, he was sentenced to 8 years and 1 month in federal prison. But for Isabella's family, the conviction brought little peace. Without her remains, there could be no funeral, no final goodbye. The ocean had taken not only her life, but her physical presence from the world. Today, the case of Isabella Hellmann remains a haunting reminder of how quickly love can turn lethal and how the most beautiful settings can conceal the darkest truths. Somewhere in the Atlantic, the waves continue to move endlessly, guarding the secrets of that night. And Isabella Hellmann's story unfinished, unresolved echoes in the silence left behind. Next case. In stark contrast, everyone knows the name Ted Bundy. He was the picture of success, charming, handsome, and educated. But behind that polished exterior was one of America's most ruthless serial killers. During the 1970s, he preyed on young women across multiple states, masterfully exploiting their trust and vulnerability. Even after he was caught, Bundy continued his manipulation, playing games with investigators and blurring the line between truth and performance. His legacy isn't just about the lives he destroyed, but the terrifying ease with which he hid in plain sight, proving that monsters rarely look like monsters. Then there's John Wayne Gacy. To his neighbors in suburban Chicago, he was a pillar of the community, a successful businessman, a volunteer, even a children's party clown. But in his crawl space, a far more sinister truth was hidden. Gacy murdered dozens of young men and boys, burying many of them right under his own home. His case shattered the illusion that evil has a specific look or feel. It forced society and law enforcement to confront a terrifying reality. Evil can thrive for years, undetected, when we simply look the other way. Now let's talk about Aileen Wuornos. She broke the mold of the typical serial killer, homeless woman working on the highways of Florida. She killed multiple men in the late 80s and early 90s. Wuornos always claimed she acted in self-defense, a desperate response to a life of violence and abuse. Prosecutors, however, saw a cold, remorseless predator. Her case ignited a firestorm of debate about trauma, mental illness, and the nature of justice itself. Even today, the question lingers. Was she a pure predator? Or was she also the tragic product of a system that failed her at every turn? Next case, far from the headlines of America, in rural India during the 1970s, fear spread silently. A man named Kampatimar Shankariya stalked the countryside, targeting travelers with brutal blunt force attacks before vanishing without a trace. His crimes went unnoticed for years. Why? His victims were often poor, with no one to report them missing, and the lack of centralized policing made it easy for him to stay invisible. When he was finally captured, the authorities uncovered a killer who thrived where systems failed the most. His case is a chilling testament to how the deadliest criminals can operate in the gaps of society. Next, we have a man who declared war on the world, Panzram. His life was a brutal cycle of abandonment, abuse, and institutionalization, starting from childhood. He grew into one of the most violent criminals ever recorded, admitting to dozens of murders, countless assaults, and acts of sabotage, many of which were impossible to even verify. Unlike others, Panzram never sought sympathy. He offered no remorse, only a chilling, raw honesty about his hatred for humanity. His story forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question: how much violence is born, and how much is made by the world around us? Not all killers become household names. Next, take Tracy Housel. His crimes never made national headlines, and there was no dramatic manhunt. He operated quietly, targeting vulnerable individuals and exploiting their trust. His pattern was one of quiet predation, not spectacle. Cases like Housel's are a crucial reminder that some of the most dangerous individuals operate below the radar, shielded by routine and society's neglect. Their victims are no less real, and their stories are no less deserving of being remembered. The silence surrounding their cases is a tragedy in itself. Then there's Thomas J. Grasso, a man for whom murder was simply a transaction. He killed for one reason: money. Using poison to murder elderly victims, Grasso displayed a complete lack of emotional connection to the lives he took. His chilling detachment was never more apparent than at his execution. His last words weren't of guilt or regret. They were a complaint about the quality of his last meal. He represents a type of killer driven not by passion or rage, but by a cold, calculating sense of entitlement. Our final story brings us to Texas, in the case of Steven Nelson. Convicted of murdering a beloved church pastor during a robbery, Nelson's story was filled with conflicting accounts and legal controversy. Throughout his appeals, questions about his sentence and the certainty of his guilt were raised. His execution reignited passionate debates over capital punishment, personal responsibility, and whether our justice system can ever be completely free of doubt. His case reminds us that even when a verdict is reached, the questions don't always end. These stories aren't connected by a single method or location. They are connected by their impact. They expose the failures of our systems, the warnings we ignored, and the lives that were forever shattered. Some of these names are now etched into history, serving as grim warnings. Others have faded into obscurity, lost to time. But every single case, known or unknown, leaves us with the same haunting question: how many signs did we miss back then? How many are we still missing today? Thanks for watching. If this story has made you think, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the shadows of history.